Good morning. Welcome to You Can't Say That. I'm Greg.
And I am Al.
Morning.
I think. Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Good.
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 It's got a good day. The snow melted already?
No.
No, still got that beautiful scenery you have from the other day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
The picture looks weird. If
I'm
anybody's,
looking at us on YouTube, but we look good.
are you watching it?
Yeah.
And it looks normal?
Looks normal to me.
Okay.
I mean, we can't do much with you, Greg, but it is what it is, right? We got to kind of go with it.
I did get a comment after Tuesday because of wearing the hat. I took the helmet off, put the hat back on, and somebody accused me of being self-conscious about my hair. So I'm not. I just like hats.
Yeah.
I have a lot of them and cool. And I was wearing a Kelly's Music hat, which I really like my Kelly's Music hat, and I really like Kelly's music. So anyway, no, I have hair. Here it is.
You do have hair. Yeah. Usually a lot of people with, baseball caps and stuff women do it, I think, to cover their hair because they just, they don't want to fix it or whatever. But guys, I think, if you don't have hair, you just put the cap on, then you take it off, and everybody goes, whoa, I didn't know you didn't have hair.
Yeah.
But you do have hair.
And yeah. And a lot of times it is because I just don't want to fool with the hair. It's easier just to put a hat on, but I like hats. It's, when you get down to it, I like hats.
Hey, look good in hats. You just go with it, bud. Yep.
All right. So we got a list of topics, listed.
We do. It's never ending.
Yeah.
How much do you talk about and solve? I mean, we are solving world problems, man, at a clip. We are just racking them off. So bring up the next problem to solve. Let's solve it. We move on. And
I teased everybody with an expose on green energy versus traditional energy.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that. And most of what I have falls along those lines. Let me make sure. Yeah. I think everything I ran across in the news this week is kind of along those lines. Now, you had something besides that. You wanted to talk about electric cars, but you also had something about the education system in California.
Yeah. Well, so the electric car thing, I think, is going to go right into your green initiative that's going on all over the world, it seems like. And I'm right there with you, man. I may have some little different views. California, I heard on the radio one day this little clip, and I thought, really? So I went and looked up, and sure enough, but they were talking about that only 20% of the students in public schools in California are white. 20%. So it kind of like, what? Really? 20%? Now, the only reason I bring that up is just because how demographics change. And California always seems to be the one that's so far out there, and you're thinking, what's going on? But it is true. And surprisingly to me, when I looked at the demographics of public school students, that I found some interesting things. 5% black in California public schools, 5%. Oh, no, okay, population, roughly 15% in across the United States. Now, the Asian Americans was almost 10%, which is to be expected, I guess, about 10%. But you had Hispanic Latino at 55% and whites at 22%. So I just find it interesting. Demographics don't always have to mean something, but a lot of times they do in a country and what's going on. And obviously things are changing. The immigration issues are big. We're letting people in that are illegal. They're not coming into America the right way. We have laws. So everybody always thinks that's racist or we're being, whatever. But it's all about laws and how we're allowing people in. But it's amazing to me, 55% of the population of public schools in California are Hispanic.
What was the white population in the schools? What'd you say?
22.
No, not in the state, in the school system.
Yeah, in the school system, these are all school system numbers.
Oh. Well, what's the
22%.
What's the white population in the state?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I could find that out pretty quickly.
I just wonder if there's some racism in California schools. Are they not educating enough enough white children. And here's the thing.
So is that the way we're going to go?
I'm about to say something. Well, I'm about to say something you can't say.
Yeah.
So
well, I would think you're going to probably get the same number. I mean, or it's going to be kind of close to that number if you're doing that right now. So let's just say it says California's population is almost 60% white. California's population, and 37% Hispanic. So it is a little bit of a
Well, yeah, here I'm offended. I'm
almost
offended.
60% is white.
I'm offended, and I want something done about this, because they're lumping everybody with some shade of white skin in together, and all white people are not the same. There is no white. Just like whenever we mistake someone who's Korean for someone who's Japanese, for someone who's Chinese, for someone, and they harass us for it. Well, guess what, everybody else? All white people aren't the same either. There's Caucasian, there's Western Europe, there's Germanic, there's Anglo, so when you talk about white people, just who are you talking about? Which white people are you talking about? And if you don't know there's more than one kind, then you're a racist.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
how
right.
about them apples?
So another statistic is our public school systems in general. So this was concentrating on the population of our school systems. Although you brought up a great point, though, when I go back and look at the population of California in general, almost 60% is white. So that must mean that a lot of whites are out of schools. They're older whites. They're not the school age group whites, okay? Because only 22% of the school population is white.
That just means that California is racist and they're not educating white children. That's what that is, because there's
all the white children.
Isn't the population of everything under the sun supposed to mirror the general population of race? So if you've got government and your white population is 60%, then the government should have 60% whites in it. And if your black population is 5, it should have 5. Isn't that what we've been taught? Isn't that what equality is? That's what they've been telling us for the last 30 years. So why aren't they walking the walk?
But let's take those government filters off for a minute and look at it real. So let's say that California does have 60% white population in general. That means every age group. It is amazing that must mean if only 20% are in the public schools, that there's a great disparity in the age groups spread of whites. I mean, it must mean that a lot of whites are not of school age, and they are aging population. The new population coming into California, which is not like something that's been a secret, right? I mean, California has kind of been browning, if you want to say, has been becoming a little bit different color. And if that really means anything, I don't know. I'm just bringing out a stat that I found surprising to me, that high of a population was non-white, that only 20% of all the students in all of California are white. And everybody else is either Asian, Spanish, Black American, and even the Black American population. I thought that was so low, 5% of all the students in California are Black, only 5%. That's a startling statistic to me, especially since, well, that probably just shows you, how it's so concentrated in maybe a few states, the Black population, and not spread out. But interesting.
I don't know. I think California's just racist. You're so apologetic. Don't be so nice to California and let them off the hook, Al. Come on.
Well, I'm trying to look at real stats, and these are real stats of what's going on in California and how it's changing. It is interesting. And actually going to delve into a little bit of the topic that you want to talk about, the green. I also heard from California that I guess the governor is thinking about, or is mandating now, that, every car in California in the next, and, I used to think when they did these projections, like by 2030 or whatever, it was always so far out. But time seems to be moving very quickly now. And this is like a 2030 initiative. I mean, 2030, man, that's just around the corner. You're talking about in less than a decade, no more newly made gasoline powered cars. So you can buy them on the used market, a gas car, but no more new cars can be sold that are gas. Everything has to be electric. And so I went and looked at electric cars myself and did a little investigating about what this whole electric car thing and the kind of what you want to talk about, this green initiative, that it's not what you think. And my part of the story would be, it definitely isn't what you think, that we're just trying to be nice to the planet and clean and all this kind of stuff. But I'll make that an entree for you to get in, and you want to talk about
and remember,
the green initiative, which I too.
Yeah, remember on Tuesday for my dissection of a conspiracy, right?
Yeah,
it is about the environment for most of them. That's what they think, and that's what their motivation is. For most people, the average people, they actually are believing the fraud that's being perpetrated on them. So for them. For all intents and purposes, it is about saving the planet. It's the leadership that created this movement, drives this movement, funds this movement, politicizes this movement. At the core of that, those are the people that know it's about something else. Everybody else involved, they actually think it really is about saving the planet, which is why we can't have rational conversations with environmentalist wackos, because they don't know. And they won't believe, and they're so invested in what they believe about it already. No evidence to the contrary is going to change their mind. They have been totally hoodooed by people they trust. Let me make a
point, Greg, because you brought this up about the mask thing, that it was the same structure, that the guys at the top, they kind of know what they're doing. Everybody else that's pushing it, they firmly believe. And I've had conversations with people that get very passionate about how we're doing this to protect other people. You know, if you don't care about yourself, that's fine, but you need to wear a mask to protect the other person.
And that person
really so passionately believe it.
Oh yeah, they really think that's what it is. They don't know they got frauded. And this is one of Greg's laws. I have to look on the list to see which number it is. But there's almost no end to what you can accomplish if you're willing to lie to people that trust you. Think about that.
Yeah.
What you can achieve personally is almost limitless if you are willing to lie to people who trust you to tell them the truth and are going to trust that you have told them the truth. People need to understand that, because our entire civilization is built on that.
Well, and let me make a counter to that, because I think you're exactly right. So the other flip side, thing that I've been hearing a lot, is that you never believe a lie, okay? And that's a very hard thing to do. I mean, you've really got to search out, because don't believe a lie and then never repeat a lie. So it's kind of the opposite of what you're saying. To me, in order to counter what you're saying, is you've got to be really vigilant on saying, I'm never going to believe a lie, and then I'm also never going to repeat it. Because once you repeat it, then you're part of the problem. And you got to be really careful. Don't repeat a lie. That's why on this mask thing, I never get involved in that, because I'm not going to be part of the people that repeat things that are lies. You know, so I'm not doing it.
And to make a biblical reference, isn't that exactly how the beginning of everything was? God spoke the word, and then there was. It was the word. It was saying it. It was the expression, the physical expression of it that created. So
right, and then the devil used a lie. So the devil put the doubt with Eve. Did God really say that?
Well, he didn't say it to her.
And then you start doubting, right? And then you start, maybe he didn't really. And then you repeat the lie, and then from then on, it's gone. So you got to be firmly grounded in the truth. And, we go back to this conversation about, what are you supposed to believe, blah, blah, blah. Well, my priority in life is know what you believe. Make sure that before you do anything else, and get grounded on what it is that you believe.
And people in general aren't going to do that, which is why everything is the way it is.
Sure.
Amaji says, every time someone says electric car, I try to say something like, you mean coal-powered car?
Yeah, I love it. That was going to be part of my thing. You're right, coal powered. That's how they make electricity.
Well,
to get those
they're
things
gonna.
charged
Don't
up.
worry, Al. They're gonna fix that. And that's and they're converting a lot of these coal plants over to natural gas because supposedly, right, natural gas is supposed to be cleaner and this is supposed to be better. So let's go into my first story of what's going on out there, and this is De Blasio, our wonderful governor,
Mayor of New
Mayor
York.
De Blasio.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
De Blasio moves to ban natural gas hookups. Literally, our only choice is renewable energy. And that's from the Washington Examiner. Now, what the story goes on to explain is that he's trying to put in place building codes, basically statutes that anything you build cannot be hooked up to natural gas for heat So they're gonna draw a line, but aren't we and this is the beginning of this is not about the environment, because we were told by these environmentalists we had to convert all the coal powered stations over to natural gas because coal's dirty and it's polluting the planet. Okay, so if that's the case, then why is the mayor of New York banning natural gas hookups in New York? Well,
Right.
here's the dirty secret, everybody. This is the environmentalist movement in a nutshell. And again, I am not condemning or claiming that people who believe in this stuff are up to anything or are lying to us. What I'm saying is that they have bought into a lie that they have been told by people they trust. So I'm not attacking people who don't know any better. I wish they knew better. I wish there was a way to get them to see it. We'll talk about it. I don't have any faith that it's going to change them, but I'm not attacking them. I'm attacking the people at the top, the power people who have perpetuated this lie. Why have they perpetuated this lie? They've perpetuated it for financial reasons. It is as simple as this, okay? The left wing of politics in the United States, they're invested in renewable energy. They have put money into wind turbines, into solar companies, everything. Their energy, their big energy investments are in renewable energy, in green energy. The right wing of American politics, these people own coal mines and power plants and refining plants and oil rigs, and they're invested in traditional energy. Mm-hmm. This whole thing is not about saving the planet. When Democrats take over and fight for renewable energy to save the planet, it's not because carbon is bad for the planet. It's because they don't make any money if you use gas. They want to force. They want force for everybody to have to use the energy that they've invested their money in, because that's how they get rich.
Gotcha. But Greg, let me ask you. I mean, both of them though complement each other, because I'm all for looking. I mean, I used to think, and I still do, like the sun. I mean, if you think about the greatest renewable resource there is, energy, my gosh, if we could figure something out about the sun, I mean, it's there all the time.
Hey, I'm not anti alternative.
No, I understand where you come from.
Yeah, I've got solar panels. I've got a solar system that I use to run things. It's awesome. I want to expand it. I've got my own design for a windmill that I think I could power my whole house with. It's a completely different design. I'm excited about these things. My problem is the politicizing of these things. I'm not against windmills and solar panels. I'm against government forced and subsidized payouts to that industry from our money and from money that they're going to indebt us to, and writing laws that we don't have any choice in what energy you're going to use. That's my problem. I say all of it. Let's use it all.
Yep, let's use it all. Now, let me add this one little twist in there too. So the American politician, I don't think is acting in a vacuum. I mean, the left, the right, the influences from around the world. And I'm definitely keening in on China. Like when I look at some of these things, like the electric car, you need, coal powered plants or natural gas powered plants to to get the cars, even the electric cars, up and running. And most electricity is going to be made from generating some other kind of natural fossil fuel type of gas. But lithium, now they say for the lithium battery, lithium is one of those rare minerals. Okay. And this was a Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton scandal for a while with Russia, and I think maybe China too, selling rights to these natural rare minerals to these other countries. Now, what I see is with this lithium mining, I was reading some stuff about how dirty that kind of mining is. And it's normally done in China and in parts of Africa that you get these rare minerals. And I'm thinking, okay, so this China connection keeps coming back big time. So our American politicians, just like everybody else, as scripture says, everybody is wicked and everybody's looking out for their own thing. They're trying to get rich. And China has definitely infiltrated the U.S.
China is playing on the greed of left-wing politicians in the United States to enrich them while stealing our country from us. That's the they are, and they're doing a fantastic job of it.
It is, isn't it?
And that's one of the things. That's one of the things Trump tried to talk about. It's one of the things Trump tried to deal with, and that's why the people on the left were trying so hard to take him down. Is because he was cutting off their gravy train. It wasn't because Trump's a bad man. Trump, has orange skin. Whatever. It wasn't because Trump was a woman. A woman molester or any of that stuff. It was Trump was in the way of their money. That's
so in the way of China. And one of the greatest things I think Trump did was to actually put a little bit of a black eye on China. I mean, I think China's always been there and everybody's kind of like, but they've never been looked at negatively. 4 more years of Trump bashing China, and because he would always call it the China virus, and he was really giving China, and I think China, and if you want to investigate anybody.
And that goes back to what we said a minute ago, speak the word.
Right. Yes.
And he says it. He was speaking the word. It was coming out of his mouth. Truth. It was manifesting materially in the world. And
let's talk about that. So if China is it, and I'm thinking China is the one with the rare minerals and all that, where basically China is helping to perpetuate this green environment. China is into Major League American sports, which has basically got everybody hypnotized. I mean, really, LeBron James, all these superstars never say anything about anything because they're getting the money is just pouring in through sports, Nike deal, all this, whatever the deals are. And I think China is really the one to watch on a lot of fronts. But going back to the green thing, I think they're now, if we move towards more renewable, they will have a major hook in America because I never hear of China producing oil. I don't think China has oil production, really. I think they get it from Russia, some other countries. They don't seem to have that resource. Russia does, South America and parts of the Middle East and us, but it seems like China is left out of oil production. So I think they want to force America into this quote unquote renewable energy, green energy, and they are major league behind all this.
What you've got is a lot of people who don't want to compete. What they want to do is just use the deadly force of government to force everybody to use them. I mean, that's where we're at now. Nobody wants to they don't want to break out into the world and compete with their ideas and let the chips fall where they may. They want to game the system. And the easiest tool to game the system is a very powerful central government, which is what we have now in the United States. What better weapon is there to enrich your friends and destroy your enemies than an all-encompassing, all-powerful central government, which is how we're one step away from closing the door on that one. And we're going to be trapped. Right. We're going to be trapped in it. All right. So along the lines of this next story, I saw this meme on the internet. And the meme shows a picture of Warren Buffett, and it explains that the reason why Biden shut down the Keystone pipeline, but not other pipelines, right? Because remember the whole point, you got to shut down the Keystone Pipeline because this is
Right.
bad for the environment. Well, if the Keystone Pipeline is bad for the environment, isn't the Mountain Valley Pipeline bad for the environment? Isn't the East Coast Pipeline bad for the environment? They're all so, but he didn't shut them all down. He just shut down this one. Why did he shut down this one? Well, this meme says he shut down this one because Warren Buffett gave him a ton of money. And Warren Buffett owns the train system that will be transporting that, whatever that it goes through the pipeline, whether it's oil or natural gas or who knows, that he'll be transporting it on trains. So this was a payback to him for the money he gave to Democrats and especially to Biden. Now, of course, the Facebook censors jumped on this and they put up this fact check thing. This is untrue. He did not give $57 million to Biden. And I went and looked up the fact check on this. Now, this is just another example of how the fact checkers are lying to you by omission. And I've been dealing with PolitiFact for almost 10 years now, and I've beaten PolitiFact 2.5 times in me working with campaigns with E.W. Jackson, where PolitiFact attacked him and they were wrong. And twice I beat them. One time I beat them and they decided not to even publish the story because they didn't want to publish we were right. Rather than admit they were wrong, they just didn't publish it at all. That's why I say 2.5. So I looked up the fact checking on this, and this is what I found on Fact Check. Warren Buffett did not donate $58 million to Joe Biden's campaign. And it goes on to say that, you can only donate what's the amount? $2,800. Yeah, here it is. $2,800 to a campaign personally, blah, blah, blah.
As a person, right?
Okay. What they say there is true, but it doesn't dispel the idea, the fact that Buffett gave Biden and a bunch of Democrats a lot of money, because he did. First off, you don't give $57 million to a candidate because they're right. You can't give a candidate's committee, a federal level candidate, more than $2,800 per person. That's why we created PACs and super PACs. They have their own PACs and super PACs, and a super PAC, you can give as much money as you want to them, and then the money just gets spent for them. So it's another layer of lie that's been put across the election laws to make people believe that they have stopped, that they've been fighting money in politics. It's a shell game. All they did was move the money stream somewhere else. The whole thing is a lie, but people believe it because people they trust have told them this lie. And again, it is almost unstoppable what you can accomplish and achieve if you're willing to lie to people who trust you. And this is another example of what they've done. So I looked at that and I said, all right, well, how much money and how did the money get spent? So first of all, Warren Buffett personally didn't give millions of dollars. Warren Buffett donates money to campaigns through Berkshire Hathaway. That's his company. So you look up Berkshire. They don't say that in the fact check, by the way. They leave all this out. All they say is, nope, he didn't give him $58 million. This thing is false. It's a lie. Well, no, it's actually not a lie. It's an exaggeration. Because yes, Warren Buffett gave him money and he gave him millions of dollars. He gave it to him through Berkshire Hathaway. He didn't give more than $2,800 to Biden. He gave it to PACs and super PACs. These are the facts. So while the meme is technically inaccurate, and that's what they're lighting on, they have lied about the actual story of that meme, which is true. He gave tons of money to Democrats and to Biden, and he got something out of Biden, which is the pipeline shut down, which is going to put his train system way back in business, moving all that fossil fuel.
Correct.
So I looked up the giving. Here is the Berkshire Hathaway money. In 2020, they gave $5.1 million to politicians, and they spent almost $5 million lobbying those politicians. Now you go down the list, and who's at the top of the list? The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and Joe Biden. So he gave Joe Biden's PAC $300,000. He gave $360,000 to the Democrat Congressional Campaign. Now here's something else. He also gave some Republicans money. Trump
covering
got
both
money.
sides.
The Republican National Committee got money. The Congressional Committee got money. The Senatorial Committee got money. Bernie Sanders got money. John Corzine got money. This is, and this
Just
goes
covering your bases.
Yes, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Why does he fund everybody? Because whoever ends up in power, he wants them beholden to him for money so he can get what he wants.
Correct.
And so
Yep.
he gave money to Bernie and the Democrats. And what did he get? He gets a ton of contracts for his railway system now because of the shutdown of the pipeline. So the fact that he didn't give whatever that meme said, and the fact that it was done through all that is just a facade. He and his businesses are funding politicians to the tune of millions and millions of dollars so he can get them to use law, to use the government, to use force, to use rules, to use regulations to get what he wants, which is rich and powerful. Yeah. This is not Greg, hard.
Let me push your button on this a little bit. Okay, so it's gonna be hard for me to say this, but no, but not really. Like, see, I think the private sector is kind of put in a box now because there have been so many government regulations on their businesses. So it's hard to look at somebody like him and say, well, why is he doing this? Well, he's doing it because government gets in such the way of everybody that he's just looking out for his own interests, which is what every private citizen should be doing, and trying to influence government to get out of the way and let them have their business prosper, right? So
yeah, but this is not. This is not about getting them out of the way. In this particular instance, and in many of them, it's about getting them to write a law specifically to give them an advantage. And one area we discovered that in was in farming, right? When we thought farmers would be a natural constituency to liberty candidates when we were running elections, right? Well, what we discovered is that the farming industry is gaming the system just as deeply, and they don't want the subsidies to go away, and they don't want the rules to go away because farming has moved into the corporate level. They're corporate farms, and the corporations, they want all these excessive rules and regulations because they have the resources to deal with it, but farmer Ted down the road doesn't, and it puts small farmers out of business so that the corporate farmers can be the only game in town. And they're doing it by getting politicians to write the laws to favor them and squash everybody else.
Right. Yeah. No, and I got you, and I'm not siding with it. All I'm saying is you look at people and everybody works for their own self-interest.
Well, yeah,
which is actually a great thing.
Well, so right? So essentially, you're saying this is the way it is. They're doing the best they can with it because it's just it's the system we got.
Well, I'm not trying to say that. But
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what the solution is, because if I'm any of these people, and these laws and things on the books have been done for hundreds of years, now you're the person that inherits it. And you're sitting there, and now your whole life is going to get changed and turned upside down if something changes. That's a problem. And I'm trying to figure out, well, when I look at
this is one of the reasons why I'm not optimistic. I don't think there is a solution, because any solution to this problem requires sacrifice. Everybody is going to have to sacrifice the perks, sacrifice the advantages. They might have to sacrifice financially for a little while. And nobody is going to make that sacrifice. That's why the status quo is going to remain, because nobody's willing to sacrifice. Why do I live poor in the woods, heating my house with wood? Because I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
Greg's smart, and Greg's actually quite ambitious, and I'm pretty good at a lot of things. I could be a rich power player too, scamming the government, paying off politicians, enriching myself. But I've sacrificed what I could have built by scamming the same system everybody else is scamming, because it's wrong. It's wrong. Yeah. But can I expect average people to make the same kind of sacrifice to say, I'm not going to do it because it's wrong? No. People are going to do it. That's never going to change. The status quo is going to remain. But that's the biggest obstacle, is fixing all of these problems the right way requires a sacrifice. So what do? They they give it some first aid, throw a Band-Aid over it, very little sacrifice, and they just let the problem fester and get worse.
You're right. And, just thinking back to what you said, too, with the pipeline. So on that pipeline, the whole thing is that, the environment, and they push it down to where people now like the fact that it's getting shut down because it's about the environment, saving the environment. But it really wasn't. It was just about, somebody making more money using rail because that's how they transport the oil instead of going through pipes. So you're right. Everybody has gotten propagandized, I guess, into thinking a certain way. And so now, unfortunately, that's
we're over a half an hour, so I think we should wrap up on your last topic, which you wanted to talk about the stimulus payments.
Yeah. Okay. This would take me about a half hour.
Well,
no,
do you want? Because
really
I've got an interesting take on a big picture of this too. So we could push it off until Monday and do. Tuesday.
Okay, just like a little teaser though on this thing. And I'm saying this to people that listen here too. Enough with this stimulus stuff. I'm getting so upset that everybody seems to be looking like, hey, when's the next payment coming? When's this? Guys, if the government, and we know this, all the government has to do, forget the stimulus checks, just open up business. People don't need stimulus checks from the government. What they need is to get back to work and make money so they don't need the stimulus check. And quite frankly, $600 or $1,200, it's a lot when you send out from the government. You're talking trillions. But the reality is it's nothing. It's a half a month worth of expenses. It's so silly to be doing it and perpetuating it this way. It's not good for us. It's not good for this country. And we just need to knock it off. I'm getting so upset about us getting hooked on stimulus
We're not going to knock it off. And I'm going to save this till next Tuesday. This is the teaser. I'm going to tell you how the stimulus checks and what you're saying there is all wrapped up in in this great big scam that is also having people's Facebook accounts shut down, criminalizing speech. All of these things are all one great big problem that are all intertwined. And next Tuesday, I'm gonna explain that because I don't think people are truly seeing the connections to everything that's going on. But just like with these stimulus payments, and you're right, we don't need $600. I need a job where I can make a good living. Now, I'll close with this. The secret nobody seems to understand about the stimulus. Like if you go back to the previous stimulus, what was the amount of money we borrowed? Like $2 trillion to do that stimulus, right? Okay. Yeah. So this is the biggest scam. And no people seem to be interested in how they just got screwed. But my numbers right here are not going to be exact. I have to look it up. But this is how it worked. This is the gist of it. So let's say that it was $2 trillion of money we borrowed, right? We spent $500 billion of that giving out checks to average people, and then we spent $1.5 billion giving checks to the friends of the politicians who got that bill passed.
And countries all over the world and crazy.
So $2 trillion. American citizens are now in debt for $2 trillion. They got $500 billion, and everybody else got $1.5 trillion. And why are there not riots in the streets over that? Why didn't the whole because they don't know. They have no idea. Nobody talks about that. When the talking heads on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, when they're arguing about the stimulus and how much should it be and who's making what move and the president is being hardline and he has to have this in the bill and the Democrats say no and they can't agree, they don't tell you the truth about what that's about. It's not about the $500 billion that's going to go to us. It's about which of their friends and who's going to scam it to get the big bucks out of that $2 trillion of debt. And that's not what's talked about. They're not talking about the real fight. The real fight is whose friends are going to get billions and billions and billions of dollars. It's not about whether we get 600 or 1,000 or 800. It's about which cronies to whose politicians are going to make bank off of the debt that they're now putting onto us. And I didn't see one single discussion about that. In both times we've gone through this stimulus, nobody's talked about that. That's never the discussion, and that should be the big discussion.
Right. Well, the first time though, when Trump was still in office, so Rush Limbaugh on his show, I remember talking that they were talking about $2 trillion, whatever the number was, and they thought, well, gosh, only 300 million people in America, and not everybody is getting a check. I mean, a little 1-year-old is not getting a check, so it's taxpayers that are getting checks. So let's say it's 150 million or 200 million, whatever the number is, times 1,000. Well, that's a 200 billion. Well, wait a minute, why are we spending $1 trillion? It was the same conversation. Is that 3/4 or 80% of the money is not specifically going to a taxpayer, it's going somewhere else. But that's a great conversation. Next time we ought to talk about it.
So yes, on Tuesday, and next week we're going to change the time of the show to 9:30.
We'll make
now
it
that everything's technically working, we see everything seems to be going smooth. We'll move the show to 9:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you and I'll be back next Tuesday 9:30, and I'm going to tell you the rest of that story. Because it's all intertwined in one great big massive fraud on us. The shutdown of free speech, the shutdown of freedom of expression, the shutdown of protests, all of this stuff. It's all interconnected, and there's a reason for it.
Woo!
And I will be wearing a hat on Tuesday because I missed my hat. But there's my hair, everybody. Look at it, love it.
Well, maybe you want to wear that helmet and just slide that visor
I put
down.
the helmet in the car Tuesday, and I haven't had to use it yet, but it's in the back. And thanks for watching, everybody. Share it with your friends. This will be available on the channel to watch anytime. Let them know. Al, good to see you again.
All right, same here.
Have a good
Talk later,
one.
my friend. Bye-bye.